I'd like to welcome everybody to the special study session and special meeting tonight. And I would ask that if you could please turn off your cell phones or silence them during this, that would be great. And want to remind everybody that every day our meetings are televised on Channel 2 at 6 p.m. and also available for viewing on YouTube. And with that, we will go ahead and commence our study session with item 1, the semi-annual report from the University of St. Mary.
Yes, we have Sister Diane Steele from University of St. Mary here tonight. Please,
Where would you like me?
up here would be great. Have a seat.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening. And thank you for having me. Some of my people were complaining that I should have canceled school. It never crossed my mind. I'm from Butte, Montana, and it was 40 below there, so I thought we were in a heat wave. I bring good news. We continue to grow. So this year we welcomed 791 undergrads to the main campus, and altogether now we're over 1,400. So to that end, our biggest news is we are going to be breaking ground, we always wait until it gets cold, on a new residence hall. The new residence hall is 48 beds. It's a suite style, and it will sit on the north end of campus. So it will sit parallel to that road we share with St. John's. And then our parking lot is going to be north of the stadium in that hill that goes up. So that will be, instead of just 48 beds, that's going to be 84 spots. So that should give us a little relief on Hughes Road, which you really do want to avoid when our children are there. So we're very excited about that. Academically, we have opened and blessed our new cybersecurity lab with the latest technology. We've done that in partnership with Tenfold Security. And so they have created for us what I call the sandbox. So the students, the professor can set up scenarios and they can practice breaking into that. So they're not on our network or anyone else's. And then they can reset it overnight. So they have an actual place they can learn. And in going with that, they have also, copying one of our other partners, our students will work for Tenfold on our campus. So we have given them a room, and they will be Tenfold security employees. Instead of doing work study for us, they're going to work for Tenfold. And Tenfold has loaned us the computers. They're their furniture. So the students will get actual work experience without leaving campus on days like this. We're trying to expand that. DH Pace, you probably know them better as Overhead Door. They also do that for us. And so we have DH Pace computers and students working on those. They check invoices. Rather tedious, so they do it in 2-hour blocks. So we hope to expand that to give our students real live work experience on campus during the day, so they're not losing that time traveling back and forth from wherever they are. So very excited about those two. Our healthcare focus continues to thrive. Our doctorate in physical therapy pass rate is 100%, so we're very glad about that. And the nursing pass rate is 97%. So there's quality programs that continue to be out there. Our master's in social work is now live and online, and the Kansas residents can join the program and sit for licensure. And our family nurse practitioner has moved online. In listening to our nurses, they would rather keep nursing, and then because nurses' schedules change, some are at night, some are in the day, so it's easier for them to do the learning online and then come here periodically for the lab sessions. And again, I want to give a shout out to our neighbors, the St. John's, because they host our simulation labs. So we're very grateful for their willingness to partner with us in that. So with the addition of our programs, we're now up to 30 undergrad degrees, 8 masters, and 3 doctorates. We culminated our 100-year celebration. We did that all last year with the renovation of our grotto. Our grotto itself was 100 years old. So it was over 100 years old. So it was wonderful to be able to build out around that. But we kept the original statue and the original stones and did a lot of educating on what is a grotto. Athletically, we have 28 varsity teams. Our cross-country men took second in the nation and our women took third in the nation. So we are very proud of them out in Washington. And together they won the team trophy for the best combined score. The women's basketball team is currently undefeated in conference play. So if you have a free night, come to Ryan Sports Center and watch them. They're lots of fun to watch. We continue to service, generally working with Catholic Charities and Interfaith Hope. We did our food packaging event and packaged 20,000 meals that were given to Catholic Charities. We again think this is important that our students who don't have a lot realize that there are those who have nothing, and then the food in the cafeteria looks much better. We're very happy to report that our relationship with Fort Leavenworth continues to bloom and be fruitful. Our provost, Dr. Mickey Metzinger, has been appointed to the Board of Visitors for the college. This is really a subcommittee of the Army Education Advisory Committee that is commissioned by the Secretary of the Army. And it serves, I did it years ago, and it serves much like an academic board. So it's helping them with their accreditation for Higher Learning Commission, looking at curriculum, things that academic people do. We've also participated in their Hiring Our Heroes program that they have set up for their officers and enlisted who are coming out of service. And so our first Hiring Our Hero, which means we get them for free for 30 days. Free labor is always a wonderful thing. And so our first one was retiring Colonel Ken Slover. Ken Slover had 25 years. He was in the artillery. And now he fell in love with us and us with him, and he is now our Vice President of Strategic Planning. And we just welcomed today Tossie Andrews, who had 25 years of service, is a West Point graduate, and she's going to be helping us with student success and character development as she just pulls out the character development from West Point. So great program that the Fort has going, and it's wonderful for us to be able to partner with them there. On that note, we are now teaching in the disciplinary barracks on the Fort. We are in the maximum security, and probably by next summer we'll be in minimum security as well. And so that means now we are in the Lansing prison, we're in the disciplinary barracks, and by summer we'll be in the federal penitentiary. We're waiting on them to finish their paperwork. And then once again, as we were probably 40 years ago, we'll be back in all the prisons around here. And it's, in a sense, it fits very well because we're Vincentians, and that was one of the passions of St. Vincent de Paul, was the education and rehabilitation of those who were incarcerated. On another good note, we were named to the Best Midwestern Regional College by Princeton Review again, which I like because it comes from the students. They survey students, they don't ask us. And so once again, the students say, this is a great place to be, and we're excited to be here. So I'd be open to questions, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I appreciate everything you share. You guys are definitely on fire and got a lot going on. Definitely open it up to the rest of the team. Any questions or comments?
Is that tenfold? Is that Aaron Weisenflue?
Yes, it is.
He's a Leavenworth alum.
Yes, and he's a St. Mary alum.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
So that's a win-win.
It is.
Thanks for bringing him back.
He's passionate, so.
Yes, he is.
That's good. I don't have any other questions. Doing great. It's just
That's because
so
she's
good
an
to
alum,
hear.
she already knows.
It was a little different when I was there.
Me too.
Definitely awesome.
Well, again, I want to thank you for inviting us and for your ongoing support of the university as we build our town and gown relationship. So thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sister, for
Thank
Thank you
coming.
so much. All right, with that, we will move on to the presentation by Leavenworth Interfaith Community of Hope.
We got Miranda Agnew.
Yes, these just directly to you.
Just right there, be fine.
Either way. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening, Commissioners. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you for your time tonight. I have included a packet. Don't expect you to look through it right now. It was just as we were looking to save time tonight. I am everything but short-winded, so I wanted to keep myself nice and on track tonight. So as you know, because I've been in front of you before, I am Miranda Agnew with the Leavenworth Interfaith Community of Hope. So we are one in Leavenworth County that gets to tackle the homeless issue, and we also work with those in poverty. I wanted to go over just a few things from this year, kind of where we are, from where I was with you guys last year. We do continue to serve meals, and it's not a surprise with Prices at the grocery store, we served over 20,000 meals in 2023. That is a huge increase from last year. We've continued to see that issue rise, as I'm sure a lot of the other nonprofits have seen. We serve 3 meals a day to all of the unhoused individuals. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner to anybody who is homeless. In our shelter, we serve lunch to anybody in the community experiencing food insecurity. So maybe somebody working minimum wage. We have a lot of individuals on disability that come and stop by for a meal. So just know there is a little differentiation. It's not 20,000 just in our shelter. And at any time, if you have a question in real time, you can feel free to ask it. We continue with laundry and showers. All of that data is in the packet I gave you. Your packet is special to you because the annual report isn't quite done yet. We usually try to get that done by the end of January, but since I was here, I wanted you to have the most updated version, so you have a city commissioner's version this evening. Our night shelter, we get this question a lot. How big is your night shelter? Are you at capacity? So I always hesitate answering this question. We have 36 beds-ish, depending on the configuration, how many families we have. If we have 12 kids with their parents, that looks a little bit different than if we have no kids. We say 36 because that's what the fire marshal tells us we have capacity for. And if we need to, we are fire code approved to move over into our day center if we need to expand. So we have never turned anybody away for capacity restrictions. We just grow a little bit. In 2023, we served 241 unique individuals on our shelter side. 241 is higher than it's been the last 3 years. Not surprising with evictions and just different things that we're seeing, trends we're seeing. We're close to pre-COVID numbers. We're close to back when we had it before. We served over 5,600 beds, which doesn't mean a lot to you. That is just people in cots per night. The reason why we really look at that is how quickly are we moving individuals through our emergency shelter. It is emergency, it is temporary. We really want to look at that number as how quickly are we getting individuals housed. So that number is down this year, 23.2 nights per person, which what we want to see, and it will level out at some point. We just don't want that number to get super, super high. So we are working through a 90-day plan with all the guests that stay at our shelter. Some go over the 90 days because there's not a lot of options. The roadblocks are just too much, while others in 30 days can find an apartment and move along. So we just want to monitor that number. The average age of individual that we serve stayed the same from last year, the exact same. We served everywhere from when entered, 4-month-old all the way up to an 83-year-old. So sometimes when we talk about the challenges of the community of hope, it is truly like a classroom teacher trying to differentiate your service from 4 months old all the way up to 83, especially in just a small area.
And what was that average age?
39.
39.
Yeah. We did stop transportation in 2023. That was something that was a programming change. The reason we did that is we really wanted to support the city of Leavenworth and the LV rides, which I cannot brag enough about. I only have limited time, so I just made one little sentence about it. But we really wanted to support what they were doing at the city of Leavenworth. It took off and was amazing from the get-go. We had plans like once this gets up and running and it's going great, we're going to pull out of transportation. We were able to do that once they started because it went off so well. We have not had a lot of complaints. I really expected, since we did offer free transportation to the entire community, I really expected there to be some complaints on that, and we have gotten 0. So that just means the city's running such a great program that individuals enjoy the drivers and they come and wave when they're in our parking lot. So that was a good move on our part to not use those resources there. Even though we did stop doing that, we still do have an organization vehicle, and we are now using that for more of those just to fill in the gaps. So a lot of trips to Social Security office, trips to the DNB, back and forth to Guidance Center or to the DCF office or wherever we need to go. We're able to plug in a little bit more just as needed when there are gaps. Very excited report that 49 individuals received housing in 2023. That is up. In 2021, we had 11, and we were really excited about that, and we challenged ourselves, more. In 2022, we had 20 individuals that received housing. And so to jump from 11 to 20 to 49 is huge, and a huge compliment to our case management. Most are volunteers. Belinda Clausen runs that, and just an amazing progress, amazing working with our partners, Sister Vicky and Leavenworth Attainable Housing, and the city with Section 8, and just getting outside the box on some ideas. So something we're really excited about. So our financial review is in your packet. To be very transparent, we are struggling with finances, as probably a lot of nonprofits are. This is going to be a really huge goal for us in 2024. We are primarily supported by our community. Prior to 2024, or actually part of 2023, most of our funding just came sometimes $5 at a time, just individuals and our fundraiser. And we do have our first grant, our ESG grant. We do get CDBG grant from the city, but one of a bigger grant that we received in 2023, and we're excited about the partnership with the city of Leavenworth. And meeting all their requirements and really getting up and running so that we can qualify for grants, because it will be very important in the next year or two to really become financially stable. Where we are now, so lots of chatter as we just went through this wonderful winter storm, and we're all like, can't wait for Monday. It's going to be 30 and 40 degrees, and I'm like, it'll feel hot and we'll be fine. Everything's going to be great. It's obviously tough to have a lot of individuals in a small, individual that struggle with mental health and substances, or just kids and adults, and it's hard to have in one small little area. So we've been managing. Our staff is amazing. We only have 2 full-time staff members, but we do have some part-time ones that are coming in Christmas, holidays. We've been open 24 hours since the cold weather started. We've been getting outside the box, so we have opened our night shelter during the day just so people can get a break from each other, because it's really hard to stay inside in a small area with 20 of, I would say, your favorite people, but 20 people you have to be around all the time, including the staff. We do have a point in time event next week. So point in time is the once a year count we do of any unhoused individual living on the streets or in the shelter. So that is next week. So we're praying for 30s and 40s instead of negative 20 degree weather for that event. That'll give us a little bit better idea of how many unhoused individuals we're dealing with. In your packets, I did put 2022 information in the very back. We're in the northeast region, and so we do follow that, and you'll see a note for Leavenworth. We had around 56 last year. We do expect to have about that number this year, so sometimes people will compare us to Lawrence and say, we don't have the things Lawrence has. Last time I was speaking with them, they had around a little over 300 street individuals who were unhoused living on the streets. We don't have anywhere close to that number. So we'll get a better idea of how many we have, because there is a population that does choose to live on the streets or is not able to come into the shelter. And so I've touched base with them a couple times. They've been on the street a couple times to touch base with those individuals just to make sure they're safe. But mostly everybody is at the shelter, hopefully, during this crazy weather. And so the thing is, I always get asked, what can we do? And so the most important thing, one, is giving and volunteering. We do operate on a network of volunteers, so we primarily run our night shelter on volunteers. We don't have staff unless they're filling in because we don't have a volunteer. So volunteer, give. If you would ever like a tour, or anybody that's watching, we do tours all the time. Sometimes it's just nice to step in and see, what we are, who we are, and what we're doing. Lots of great things with a lot of great partnerships. St. Vincent's comes in our building and does twice a month medical clinic. So we're offering medical care, trying to get our 911 calls and our hospital visits down. The guidance center, I was leaving for a meeting today, and I think there were 5 guidance center employees in my building for different reasons. Employment specialist, housing specialist, the ACT team that is now new to them. We have really partnered with them. We're doing on-site intakes for mental health services, so no longer waiting at the guidance center for those. They're doing those on-site. So lots of great things happening And it's just staying in the loop. I would just ask everybody if my card is in your folder, with my cell phone number. If you ever have questions, please don't hesitate to give me a call, shoot me an email, and I'd love to chat through whatever's going on.
For sure.
Questions?
How much is your what is ESG, by the way?
Yeah, Emergency Solutions Grant. So that comes from the Kansas Housing Resource
Okay.
at the state.
Corporation, yes.
It filters through City of Leavenworth. And so we did go after that this year. We were originally awarded 37,000, but due to some changes, we actually got a little bit more and are right over 41,000. So a big deal for our budget, for sure.
It requires a lot of work by the agency too.
Yeah.
Miranda and I had this conversation last week that grant management, especially with an ESG grant of that size that the state administers, the city requires a lot of them because the state requires a lot of
Yeah.
us. So it's a cumbersome grant, but it can help, it can be big.
We're gonna get there. We work closely with Julie McKeel, and she has had a lot of patience with us, which she's gonna have to keep having for a little while. Just all the paperwork stuff, but we're really excited for that opportunity.
Do you have anybody looking for grants for you? Grant writers or just you?
Just me. We're such a small staff, and at some point, maybe we won't be, but for now, it's Belinda and myself are the two full-time people.
Miranda, I want to thank you because I know we talked
Yeah.
quite a bit this weekend. And can you tell me how many your numbers were this weekend? And did you in fact still have space if?
Yes, absolutely. I actually looked those up just in
Okay.
case. So we sat right around 20 at night. We did see an interesting shift, and Bob is on my board and sitting behind me, and he was the one that told me when I took the job, there's no correlation between it's super hot, super cold, and you have the most, you're there on a negative 10-degree night. I was there Sunday night, and it was freezing cold, and on Sunday night, we had 20. And you're kind of expecting like everybody to be
Packed,
lined
yeah.
up, and you just don't. A lot of them are offered beds by family, maybe that won't take them in. We are seeing a little bit of a shift in having just as many during the day as we do at night. We had not seen that since before COVID. During COVID, we saw more at nighttime, but we are starting to see more that can get with somebody during the evening, but during the day need a place to tuck away and get inside. So 20 was the max we had. Now we had around 30. I can't remember what day we talked, Friday, kind of coming and going. But then on Saturday, I had ended up going out and checking on a few people, and I went inside and I said, where is everybody? And we were down to 14 on Saturday. So you just never know. There is no rhyme or reason. We had space. We let anybody in that came to the door. I visited Riverfront Community Center because I saw where you guys opened that as a warming center, just to touch base and make sure everybody knew that there are still people that don't know we exist. So we want to make
Right,
sure that
right.
if there was anybody, the times I was there wasn't anybody there, but you can never have enough space, right? But at the same time, we have to compare that with how many staff we have to monitor. So, on the weekends, we have one staff member there alone. So, during the day, so it's just, our little space is probably exactly what we need for supervision.
How do people find out about you? Like, is it just word on the street? Like, they're resourceful, they know?
Yeah, they're very resourceful,
Yeah.
very, very resourceful. Our community is amazing. I mean, during evictions are a terrible thing, right? Like everybody would love to not evict, but the individuals that have to serve those evictions are our very best partners and will bring people to us to make sure, there were some evictions during this winter storm, and it's a phone call to say, hey, this just happened, this individual really needs a place. And not only is that, if I can't get a hold of Ride LV, I'm going to bring them to your door. I mean, that in a not so great, nothing that we do is like, we're super excited. I love St. Mary because they give such a, they're doing so many amazing things, and we are too. It just looks a little bit different. It's still very messy. So in that kind of situation where, one of the officers is calling saying, I'm bringing somebody to you, somebody at Lansing Care and Rehab, there was a son of one of their residents that had become homeless, and they brought him to us.
So they come from all over.
Yeah, it's normally evictions. I mean, we're really strict about Leavenworth County. That is who we have told the city that we were serving and the county that we were serving. We don't have the capacity to be the mega shelters in Kansas City. So we stick pretty strictly to Leavenworth County. And if we do get individuals that come here from out of state, which we do often, we help them find a safe place to go. We don't just put them out on the street. because that's not helpful for anybody. It's either trying to get a Greyhound or trying to connect them with family.
Well, thank you for all you do, and thank
Yeah.
you this weekend. And today at Human Services Council, Julie McKeel couldn't brag enough about you, so you're doing a great
Thank you.
job. I appreciate you.
I appreciate your support, and I was on the phone with Holly a little bit this weekend, and I would welcome that of anybody. I would rather tackle it, in real time than have those rumors get way too out of control. So I do appreciate everything you guys do.
Quick question, Commissioner Wilson.
Go, Commissioner Wilson.
Go ahead.
Miranda, first off, thank you and the staff for everything that you are doing. I know that you have limited amount of volunteers. How many volunteers do you think that you need to be able to really help support the shelter, and what hours are needed the most for volunteers?
Yeah, great point, Jermaine. So I just looked this up because my board asked. Pre-COVID, we had around 250 volunteers that helped run our night shelter, which is amazing. Our community is amazing. We went down to 50 during COVID, and our volunteers, we've been open every day, never closing even through COVID. So that in itself is huge. We were back up to around 100, I think I did 113, I think is where we were, right under 130 is where we currently are. The biggest need is that 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. It's a terrible shift, I'll be honest with you. I applaud our third shift volunteers. I do second shift, which is until 2 a.m. I feel like that's a little bit more reasonable. But our middle of the night, second and third shift, just setting up and staying awake to supervise, which it's an honor that we get 130 volunteers that support us. That's huge. So do need volunteers through the night, during the day. I say if you want to be connected to the community of hope, we will connect you in some way.
Yeah, thank you, appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Miranda. Definitely
Yes.
appreciate it.
Miranda.
Thanks,
Yes,
Miranda.
thank you for your
Miranda.
time.
All right, with that, we'll move to the presentation by Workforce Partnership.
We have Roberta Rowland from Workforce Partnership.
Good evening, how are you guys tonight?
How are
Good
you?
evening.
Good.
How are you?
Good to see you.
I'm just going to take a few minutes to introduce myself and then tell people what Workforce Partnership is. I joke and say we're the best kept secret that there is. So I'm Roberta Rowland, and I am the Director of Business Services for Workforce Partnership. Workforce Partnership is the local workforce development board for Wyandotte, Johnson County, and Leavenworth County. Most people don't know what a workforce development board is, and I'm going to assume that there's probably somebody in this room that doesn't know, so I'm going to take just a moment to describe that. But we are funded by the Department of Labor. That money comes down to the Department of Commerce for the state. Then that money is divvied out to each county in the state, and to have a local workforce development board that works closely with the economy within those counties to help develop employment opportunities. Also to help develop training opportunities for people to have successful, gainful, livable wage employment. So we work with all sorts of entities within our counties, commissioners, workforce development boards that might be doing things in other areas like the community colleges, that kind of a thing. All of our services are free. They're free for job seekers. They're free for employers. In Leavenworth County, we serve just under 3,500 job seekers and helping them find gainful employment. We really do our best to provide a wide range of services for our job seekers as well as for our employers. All of our services are free for our employers as well. Everything is funded through the Department of Labor with the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. We call it WIOA. Unfortunately, the WIOA funding has been cut. So we are experiencing cutbacks, which means we have fewer funds available to assist people with skilling up, training, getting into a new line of work. Our goal is, of course, to take people that might be experiencing poverty and offer them a training opportunity to get into a career path that will provide a livable, sustainable wage, so that they're no longer needing services. So through that, because of our funding being cut, we have had to look for other alternatives. So we have a few different grants that are out there right now. One is work-based learning. Work-based learning is we're working directly with the school districts. We're with almost every school district that is within our Tri-County area. We're working to help them develop CTE programs and to get their students out having some sort of a real-world work experience, whether that be through a job shadow, whether that's an internship, or developing a youth apprenticeship. The state of Kansas has the goal of developing registered apprenticeships throughout the entire state. Their goal is to be in the top 25 by 2025. What this means is that the state will receive more funding dollars to help develop incumbent worker training. This year, they're going to be rolling out tax incentives for employers that develop registered apprenticeship training programs. We have a grant called the Meadowlark Grant. It was awarded by the governor, and this grant is to develop youth registered apprenticeship opportunities. So this is 16, 17-year-olds, because at 18 you can enter into an adult registered apprenticeship. A youth apprenticeship does have to work under or feed into an adult apprenticeship. So the employer does have to have an adult apprenticeship in order to develop a youth apprenticeship opportunity. The labor market is shrinking. I mean, it's less than 3% unemployment in our Tri-County area for well over a year and a half now. And so finding labor is challenging, and finding skilled labor is even more of a challenge. So it's going to become a primary goal in the state of Kansas to look for ways that employers can develop their own talent and train them, and that's of course going to be through registered apprenticeship. If you're not familiar with what registered apprenticeship is, it doesn't mean union. It just means a training opportunity that's organized, structured, and has a credential when they walk out of there. So we're working really hard through that grant in order to develop those opportunities for all of the residents in our community as well as the employers. The other grant that we have that we're serving people with is called Respect Works. The Missouri side, if you might hear it, they might call it Pathway Home. That was the original name of it. This particular grant, we're working with individuals 30, 60, 90 days to release. These are justice-involved individuals that are going to be returning to our community. Many of these people have skills and talent that needs to be developed so that they can be productive members of our community. We are at capacity with that grant. We are working, I say night and day because our case managers, they get calls night and day. But this particular grant provides cell phones. It provides computers so that they can do their job search, so that they can do the work that they need to do to be able to talk to an employer, follow through with an employer, all of that work that's necessary to find a job, right? Just applying online anymore, that's the only way in the door a lot of times. So that grant is very active and moving along, and it's getting a solid reputation for itself in the community. I hosted an employer workshop for that grant over a month ago. It was supposed to be an hour and a half long, and I had to shut it down after 3 hours. That was just they were so engaged and wanting to know more. How can they do more? How can they tap into this talent pool? How can they make it successful? We are seeing an extreme success rate that we weren't even expecting to see. As far as, I don't know the exact numbers, I can't rattle that off the top of my head, but we are just seeing such a great success that we're hoping that that grant continues. It's supposed to expire in a year's time, and we're hoping that they push it out even further because it's doing amazing things and helping a lot of people. And those two grants are our primary focus at this point in time. In the community of Leavenworth itself, Shonda in the back of the room, if you'll raise her hand, she is our site manager for that location. We are always looking for ways to engage with employers in Leavenworth in order to assist them with their talent needs, maybe help them develop their programs. Like I said, we work with Johnson County and Wyandotte County as well. We all know who's coming to Johnson County, that's Panasonic. they're already targeting Leavenworth on how they can look at the talent that is here. It's a 45-minute labor shed to Panasonic, door to door. So, you know, if it's tight on talent now, wait. It'll be even tighter. So we want to be able to talk with employers now about how we can develop training opportunities, about how we can make sure that they're paying a livable wage that is labor market competitive for what they do within this greater Kansas City area, to make sure that they are in a position where they can fight for talent fairly, right? So, any questions?
You said youth apprenticeship. What is, so like, would you partner with our Casey, our Pioneer Center here? Do you work with them for nursing and culinary and, or is that totally just through the school system?
So that's through the school system separately, and that's like a CTE program. And so what this would do is it has to have an employer that marries into that program, right? So there would have to be an employer that says, okay, culinary students, we have a place for you to learn on the job the skills that you're being taught in the classroom. And then they could earn credit while they're going to school, but they could also earn a paycheck.
Could it be any small business, or do you have to have big companies?
It could be any small business. Every career path is apprenticeable. You have to have one, mentor, so to say, that's teaching an apprentice
And have you worked with, you work with local chambers and things to?
all the time. Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. One of the things that Wyandotte and Johnson County do is they go after a variety of grants that are available to the employers in their area. We haven't seen that much traffic come from Leavenworth County. We have a JUCO Works grant that is providing training dollars for residents of Johnson County that find themselves unemployed. That helps them skill up, get back on the job. Wyandotte has something very similar. It's a different amount of money, different hurdles that the job seeker has to fit into. Maybe that's economic, maybe it's future goals, that kind of a thing. But we haven't seen any kind of an opportunity come across from Leavenworth County. And so it's one of those things that if you guys are out there hearing of grant opportunities and ways to develop the economy in your community, and you're like, that sounds great, but who's going to execute it? We can execute it. Come to us and let us be your partner in helping get those things put forth in Leavenworth.
Maybe you already said this, but how many staff do you have there?
Well, in Leavenworth, exactly?
In Leavenworth, yeah. Okay,
Yeah. On my business services team, there's 4.
okay.
And we're housed out of Johnson County, but that's just where we're housed. I come up and work in Leavenworth County periodically.
Sure. Okay.
Definitely a proponent of apprenticeship programs. I think they can be really good.
Oh, yeah,
So,
most certainly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other comments, Ed or Jermaine? No.
Well, I'm going to leave my business card. If you guys want to reach out, ask me questions, you need to know more, have other ideas that you want to float by me, feel free to reach out to
Ever
me.
bring the bus to Leavenworth, that workforce bus?
So we can, that is done through the Department of Commerce.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and usually it coincides with an event. So like if a school was having like a big career day or something and they wanted to have the bus available for people to work on resumes or do job searches, we can certainly do that. We also assist veterans that are looking. So, if the base was having something and they wanted the bus there for that, we could do that. Yeah, we just need notice and then we can get it there. Make it happen.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I do appreciate all the presentations from everyone tonight. With that, we're going to go ahead and move into our special meeting. To open that, we just need a motion.
I move we open this special meeting.
Second.
Second, all right, it's been seconded. We'll go ahead and begin voting with Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
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 All right. Meeting is open. First item is item 4, consideration of previous meeting minutes from December 12th, 2023, regular meeting. If there's no questions, or if there are from anyone, just let me know. If not, just need a motion.
I move that we approve the minutes for the December 12th City Commission meeting.
A second.
Motion been seconded. We'll begin voting with Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
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 All right, pass 5-0. And moving on to second consideration ordinances. Second consideration ordinance number 8231, amending Article 10, Chapter 10 of the Code of Ordinances.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, the next two items on second consideration have not changed from the first reading. And as a quick reminder, these are updates recommended by our city attorney to bring some city processes related to our demolition structure in line with current state statute.
Okay. So just need a roll call vote on this if there are no other questions.
Aye.
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 All right, item 6, or sorry?
Oh, sorry.
No. Second consideration ordinance number 8232, amending Article 11, Chapter 10 of the Code of Ordinances.
Once again, Mr. Mayor, there have been no changes since the first reading. And again, this is a recommendation by our city attorney to update the city code to match best practices and current state statute.
Okay.
Aye.
All right, aye.
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 Roll call votes here. Perfect. Thank you, everyone. Okay, with that, we'll move into our public comment portion tonight. And we have anybody?
We do. We have Ronald Grossman.
Okay.
Good evening. I come here to ask you to consider a motion for religious diversity here in the city of Leavenworth. Rather than going to Canada as a draft dodger in 1973, I put on the uniform to serve in Vietnam. And then after a break and stay, I put on the uniform again to serve during Iran and Afghanistan. I did that because I believed I was defending equality in America, but I'm sadly disappointed to say that I don't see that here in Leavenworth. During the Christmas holidays, there isn't a day that went by that I didn't drive downtown and see the homage being paid to Christmas trees and to Catholics, but not a single thing being done for any of the other minorities. No menorahs for the Jews, no Canara lamps for the blacks in our area, nothing for Kwanzaa, not a single statement from the city acknowledging that there's a diversity here in Leavenworth. I think that's totally unconscionable. If you're going to have a Christmas tree that you're using this Jews' tax monies to support, then I expect you to use your money to put up a menorah and to acknowledge the rights of other minorities here in the state or in this county. You have my motions there. You have my statements there. I ask you to take a look at those things. It's my understanding from the previous commissioner that there was more than enough money to cover this by using the tax revenues that you received from the 5 hotels. And I just ask that you either put up something to acknowledge the other minorities here in the city, or that you take down the Christmas tree because it's an affront to me and others that don't believe in Christ. Thank you. I look forward to a positive response.
Thank you. Okay, there's,
Right. And then we have Joanna Schultz.
okay.
Good evening, commissioners and fellow citizens. I'd like to thank you for giving me a moment to address you. Whenever you're faced with the issue of diversity, it always becomes a sensitive issue. So I know that oftentimes you feel like you're put on the spot and you have to agree to what somebody is proposing. I will tell you that the Leavenworth NAACP does not support Mr. Grossman's proposal for the following reason. One is the poison pen. We don't engage in that behavior, or in this case, the poison email. And in this case, that's an email laced with profanity, name-calling, or race baiting. NAACP does not sanction that kind of behavior, nor do people who engage in that behavior have the authority to speak for us. I will say that most minorities, or at least the Black community, the majority of them in this community are Christian and look for the cross to be a Christian symbol. I don't think they consider the Christmas tree to be a religious symbol. However, it does, some people see Christmas and a Christmas tree and they're very happy. I don't have a problem with that. I just want you to know that the Leavenworth NAACP has not had a feasibility study for Kwanzaa celebration, nor do we have the manpower to conduct such a study. However, we do believe that Leavenworth is a very diverse community. We are very, very blessed in this community to have people from all over the world. We think that if you are going to start looking at recognizing celebrations, whether they be religious or cultural celebrations, we think that our community should get together a diverse committee to ensure that all of our celebrations are culturally sensitive and inclusive. So it's not that we're against celebrating Kwanzaa or Hanukkah or any other holiday. We just would ask that when the city does that, that they put together a diverse committee, that they really look at being sensitive to all cultures. This world is not just black, white, or Jewish, and we need to make sure that everything in our community represents all of the people in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
No other.
Others? Okay. With that, we will begin a public hearing section tonight for unsafe and dangerous structure, 407 Maple Street.
This will be handled by Julie Hurley, the Director of Planning and Community Development.
We need to open the public hearing.
Yep.
I move to open public hearing.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion's been seconded. I'll begin voting with Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
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 Thank you.
All right.
All right, motion passed 5-0.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. Again, this is a public hearing for an unsafe or dangerous structure at 407 Maple Street. Typically, you'll see these potential demolition properties kind of in a group when we do an annual list. This happens to be a property that has had 2 separate fires, has been in a pretty bad state of disrepair for a couple of years. And city staff, and I know commissioners, have received quite a few complaints from residents and business owners in the general area, so we wanted to go ahead and bring this one before you, kind of as a one-off, before we got together our annual list for this year. So just kind of as a recap for this one, this property had a fire in July of 2021. There was no permit issued to repair any damages until August of 2022, so about a year later, the owner finally came and got a permit to do some work on that. In order to get the property owner at that time, we had to issue a code violation letter. They did not just come in on their own to make those repairs. That permit for work expired because there was no work done as part of that. There was another fire in March of 2023 after we had sent the code violation letter, after they had gotten a permit and done no work. There was then a demolition permit applied for by the property owner in August of 2023, a few months later, but the permit was never issued because the property owner never got us complete information and a complete application packet. So staff had been working with the owner of this property who lives in California. He had indicated that he intended to take it down on his own. At some point, he just stopped communication with city staff, and so that's how we've gotten to this point. Typically, this may have been something that would have been on the last demolition list that you saw, but since we were in communication with the property owner at the time, who was indicating a willingness to work on this and get this taken down, that's why we didn't bring it forward with the last list that we had. It's always our goal to have property owners take care of the properties on their own instead of having to bring it before you for a public hearing. So the property owner did submit a letter after we notified him that this was being considered for potential demolition. That letter is in your packet. He just asked for leniency with time, didn't really state a specific plan in terms of demolition or repair. And so that is what we have for you tonight. If I have any questions, I can answer those for you to the best of my ability.
This is because I'm new. So we tear down this house. Does he still own the land?
Yes, so the property owner would still own it, and all costs associated with the demolition would be assessed against that property.
Okay.
This has been going on a long time,
Yeah, it's 2 fires,
and the
right?
neighbors are
Yes,
not.
2 fires. The first was in July of 2021, and the second was in March of '23.
Do you have any pictures of the back? I know it's even worse.
We do not have any pictures of the back. We cannot technically go onto a private property.
Yeah.
But yes, we have heard the same thing.
Oh, it's awful.
And I know there's been an issue over the course of the last few years with squatters in this property, and some question as to whether they were renters or squatters, and so it's just been a problem for a few years now.
Was there any insurance on this house when it burned the first time?
The city did not receive any, so I am going to guess not, since that is a standard policy that we do receive
Sure.
money when there is insurance.
Commissioner Wilson, any comments or thoughts?
Jermaine?
No, that's okay.
Get frozen.
Yeah.
He's still there.
I would vote to tear it down.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Commissioner Wilson,
Okay,
just
all right.
check and see if you had any thoughts or comments on anything so far on this item.
No, that's it. Commissioner Hingle asked it regarding the insurance, and she just answered it.
Yeah, that was my question too there. So, yeah, and so we received the last letter, it looks like the beginning of the year, is that right?
From the property owner, yeah, it's not dated, but he sent that after it had been scheduled for this public hearing.
Okay, yeah. Now, I'm also good with moving forward with the demolition on that as well. I don't know what his thoughts are on that, but I mean, some time there and
It's a blight on the neighborhood. It's been a blight for too long.
how many extensions have been on this, Ms. Early?
Well, there haven't been any specific extensions since it hasn't been placed on a demolition list. It's just been kind of an ongoing, trying to work with the property owner over the course of the last couple of years. So it's not like a typical where you see something on a demolition list and you give them 60 or 90 days. This has just been ongoing. So this is the first time you as a body are seeing it. We do have the resolution prepared. So if it's your intent to have staff move forward with demolition, the action would be then to adopt the resolution declaring the structure unfit tonight, and then staff would begin our process of the steps we need to take in order to get that taken down.
About how long would that take?
As usual, it can be a fairly lengthy process. We do have to have, environmental evaluations done. We have to have utilities turned off. With this, utilities are off. We have, confirmation since there have been a couple of fires, but there are a number of steps that we have to go through. So, I would say no sooner than probably 60 days would be a kind of a safe bet should everything go perfectly smoothly.
No, I'm just thinking through everything and thinking through some of the other properties we've had on the list before and some of the traction we've gotten with other property owners. I would say, just kind of thinking through it, I would be okay with a 60 to 90 day extension, but not to exceed and to see some type of work done. I understand the work over the last couple 3 years. I'm just thinking from a standpoint of, there was no ultimatum even laid out in this letter. There's no closing date, and that doesn't make me feel good. Not like, hey, give me until, end of March or something like that. I'm just thinking out loud right now.
The other problem we've had is just the inability to get a hold of this individual, non-responsive to anything, but, a month and a half ago, they called us to see, well, does the fire department want to use it for training? So they know, we know they know how to get a hold of us, they just don't want to respond to anything related to fixing up the property.
They've contacted our office looking for potential grant funds to take it down, which are not what we can use CDBG funds for, so.
No, I'm sorry, and I may have missed that comment earlier on that.
Yeah, and I hadn't made that. There's just been this sort of ongoing attempts by staff to reach it. There's no plan. It's, are there grant funds available for me to do it? They're just looking at it being assessed against the property as harming the ultimate value, but there's been no plan proposed or any funds.
It would be cheaper
No,
to have
never
it torn
mind.
down
I-
and build a new house than
No,
it would to
no,
fix
I'm
that
sorry.
up. It's impossible.
Two fires, I mean, if
It's
it's as
not
bad
livable.
as
It's not
people
livable.
say, I mean, how would you like that in your neighborhood after two fires?
Well, that's the whole thing. We've been
Right.
getting calls
Yeah.
from the neighbors.
The neighbors
you know.
calling.
We've had a lot, I personally have had a number of calls from a business that's across the street.
Right.
This is very close to
Yeah.
4th Street.
Right.
And I've had a number of calls and stopped by the business and talked to them 2 or 3 times, to try to give them an idea of here's where we think we might kind of sort of be, And this has been an eyesore for 2 years.
Yeah, no, that's good. I appreciate the feedback. I'm just thinking through that there. So, yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Bowder. Okay, well then I'll tell you what, if there are no other comments or
Mr. Mayor,
questions-
I move that we adopt Resolution B 2358, declaring that structure presently presented during the public hearing of January 16th as eligible for demolition.
Second.
Motion's been seconded, and we'll begin voting with Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
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 All right, motion passed 5-0.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Julie.
Okay, moving on to general items.
I move to close the public hearing.
Thank you.
Second.
Let's slow down tonight. All right, since motion's been seconded, I will begin voting with Commissioner Wilson.
Jermaine?
Aye.
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 Aye. Now the meeting's closed on that front there. All right. Mayor's appointments, item 8 tonight, and I, Mayor Martin, do move to reappoint to the Convention and Tourism Committee Brendan Sheehan and Jordan Throckmorton, Edna Wagner, and Lisa Weekly to a term ending January 31st, 2027, and appoint James Zachary Light to an unexpired term ending January 31st, 2025. To reappoint to the Parks and Community Activities Board, Stephanie Ingles and Jennifer Brenneman Toby to term ending January 15th, 2027, and to appoint to Grow Leavenworth County Development Corporation Board, Alyssa Smith, to an unexpired term ending May 31st, 2024.
Second.
Motion's been seconded. We'll begin voting with Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passed 5-0. Moving on to item 9, consider cereal malt beverage licenses for J.K. Mart, Eddie's Grocery, and Shop Smart number 2.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, a couple weeks ago, we did a large number of these. These are CMBs. These are not liquor stores. That's a whole different process. CMB is a city license process. There were 3 in town that did not meet the deadline. We always have a couple that come in a little after the wire. So we do have Leavenworth Mart LLC doing business as J.K. Mart at 300 North 4th Street, Shop Smart number 2 at 700 Eisenhower Road, and Eddie's Grocery at 1101 Spruce Street before you tonight as the final 3 CMB licenses for 2024.
Okay. Any questions, comments from anyone?
Nope.
Okay, just need a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's been seconded. We'll begin voting with Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
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 Motion passed 5-0. Item 10, update on unsafe and dangerous fire damage structure at 805 North 18th Street.
This will be Hal Burdette, the Chief Building Inspector for the city.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
At the December 12th meeting, we discussed this property. It has progressed to the point where my staff has approved for interior finishes to begin. The exterior has already met our standards. So I bring it to you tonight. Staff recommends that we deem it no longer an unsafe or hazardous structure and return the funds to the property owner that we are holding.
That's good.
All right.
Answer any questions you have.
Cool deal. No questions here? Nope. Anybody else? Okay, then we just need a motion on that.
I move that, we are determining that the structure is no longer considered unsafe or hazardous, and authorize a return of the insurance proceeds to the owner, and this be removed from any demolition list.
Second.
Motion's been seconded. We'll begin voting with Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
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 All right, motion passed 5-0. Second item, Item 11, update on unsafe and dangerous structures, given 60-day extension at October 24, 2023 meeting.
Okay, so speaking of demolitions, these are two properties that you first saw in April of last year and placed on the demolition list, and they've already these have both received a number of extensions to complete the work. Properties are 200 Osage and 229 Osage. Both of these have successfully completed all required improvements and are no longer considered eligible for demolition. And so staff would recommend that they be removed from the demolition list.
Okay. No comments or questions?
Like to see that happen.
Yeah. We don't have any before and afters? I'm just kidding, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
yeah,
I'm
staff
kidding.
went out. I know it was a little bit hard to get out
kidding.
the last couple of weeks with the snow. Let me see what we got here. This is 200 Osage. So this is looks like November of 22. They had started demolishing it. The top, they took the second story off of it. And this is from earlier this month. So they've replaced the roof. It's now a single story garage. They're just finishing up all kind of the finish work on that roof. So we would consider that sufficiently complete. Kind of another view of it. And then this is the house at 229 Osage. Again, this is from November of 22. This one, there'd been a fire on the back of it, a little bit tough to see. This is from October of last year, under construction, doing some repairs. And then this is just a couple of weeks ago.
Great.
So
It's really good to see.
yeah, so that's the goal, just
Yay.
have the property owners take care of them.
Yeah, totally. All right. I appreciate that. Certainly, with that, I'll just entertain a motion.
I move that we remove the listed properties from the demolition list.
Second.
Motion's been seconded. We'll begin voting with Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
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 Aye, sorry.
All right. Motion passed 5-0.
Okay,
Thank you. All right, item 12. Sorry. Resolution B 2359, Kansas Municipal Investment Pool.
And I'm going to turn this over to our Finance Director, Roberta Byer, to go through a little presentation about investments and the item before you tonight.
I don't have my notes.
Good evening.
Well, goodness, we'll go without them. Good evening, Mayor Martin and Commissioners. Today, we are presenting a policy report requesting authorization to invest in the Kansas Municipal Investment Pool. And in order to talk about how these investments fit into our overall investment portfolio, I've prepared this presentation. So this presentation will provide an overview of the city's investment policy, the city's current cash and investment positions, and the process we use to determine how much gets invested and where the funds get invested. The presentation will include information about the city's repo account and the Kansas Municipal Investment Pool, and explain why we think it's advantageous for the city to have the flexibility to invest in the KMIP. I'm going to start with the investment policy, which defines the parameters of investing monies that are not immediately needed for their intended purposes. The city's policy is to invest funds in a manner that will provide the best rate of return and maximum security while meeting the daily cash flow demands of the city. The city applies the prudent person standards, which basically says that we will use the same judgment and care that any person would use in investing their own monies. The investment policy has 4 objectives, and in priority order, they are safety. Money will be invested in order to ensure the preservation of principal. Liquidity. When we need the money, we will have the money. Yield. So even though a rate of return is important, the safety, the preservation of capital, and liquidity are more important than the yield. And finally, investing in our local community. The finance department has 3 buckets of money that we manage. The first bucket is the cash in the city's main operating account. In that account, our goal is to maintain enough money to pay payroll, accounts payable, and any other expenses we know are coming due in the coming week. We also have a second bucket, which is invested in very short-term investments, and the goal is to maintain enough money in that account to cover expenditures for the next month. This could be project progress payments, upcoming bond payments, equipment purchases, or even significant unforeseen expenditures. And finally, the third bucket is funds invested in longer-term investments. These are the funds that are not immediately needed for their intended purpose, and they're invested in CDs, treasury notes, and treasury bills, usually with a term of 90 days to a year. So we use a cash forecast to determine how much money should go in each bucket. Senior accountant, Karen, maintains an annual cash forecast which projects the cash inflows and outflows for the next 52 weeks. Myself, the Deputy Finance Director, Andrew, and Karen meet regularly to review the cash forecast and determine how much money should be in the operating account. That account is maintained at Country Club Bank, and the balance in that account ranges between $1 million and $3.5 million. We also determine how much money should go in the bucket number 2. That money is also at Country Club Bank in a repo account, and the current balance in that account is $4.5 million. And finally, we use the cash flow forecast to determine how much money can be in the investment portfolio, which currently has a balance of about $31 million. So the decision regarding what goes where is made first. How much money do we need this week? How much money do we need next month? And then the rest of the money is invested in the CDs, T-notes, and treasury bills. State statute defines the type of investments that we may purchase. On a weekly basis, the Kansas Pooled Money Investment Board publishes target interest rates for municipal investments. So this slide shows the table that listed the target rates at the end of January 7th, 2024. So we've determined how much money we have available to be invested in CDs, treasury bills, and treasury notes. The next thing we do is Karen sends out a request to bid to qualified banks in the city of Leavenworth. And that bid specifies how much we're going to invest, when the funds will be available, when the investments need to mature, and the due date and time for the bid, which is usually the next morning at 9 a.m. After we receive all the bids, Karen creates a bid report from the bank's responses, which is reviewed by me, Andrew, and Karen. And if the bid rates or yields are comparable to the benchmarks, we will invest in the bid that has the highest yield. The city has 26 funds that maintain a cash position. The majority of that money is pooled together for cash management and investment purposes. As of the end of the year, the city had about $39 million. $10 million of that was in the general fund, and $260,000 was in the recreation fund. We had about $6.2 million in the enterprise funds, and $1.3 million in Leavenworth Housing Authority funds. Then we have a whole list of funds that have specific funding sources and specific purposes. That group of funds had about $9.4 million. And then we have the group of funds that are related to our CIP projects. We have about $11.2 million at the end of the year in all of those funds. And finally, the TIF funds had about $666,000 in them. All the funds highlighted in green are part of that pooled cash that I was talking about, and the Leavenworth Housing Authority maintains separate checking accounts. At the end of the year, we had about $2.2 million in the operating account, $4.5 million in the repo account, and $31 million in investments. And the Housing Authority, Flexible Spending Account, and Secret Witness Account maintain their own accounts, their own checking accounts. This slide shows you all of our current investments. You can see that we've invested in CDs, treasury bills, and treasury notes. in 3 different banks in the city of Leavenworth with a variety of yields and a variety of maturity dates. So as mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, we are requesting authority to establish an account in the city's name in the Kansas Municipal Investment Pool. The money that we would invest in KMIP is currently the money that is in a repurchase or repo account at Country Club Bank. A repurchase agreement is a short-term agreement, usually overnight, to sell securities in order to buy them back at a slightly higher price. We keep between $4 and $5 million in the repo account, and the purpose of keeping funds in a repo account is that the cash is liquid, we can get at it right away, and it earns a higher interest rate than a standard checking account. That said, the interest rate in a repo account is only earning about 0.8%. We used to invest in the KMIP, and then for a long period of time, interest rates were so low that the repo account was actually a reasonable place to invest our excess cash. But as interest rates increased elsewhere, they've remained low in the repo account. And an alternative to the repo account is the Kansas Municipal Investment Pool. So the state offers a local government investment pool, which is a place for municipalities to invest money, and it's governed by the State of Kansas Pooled Money Investment Board. The state says that the funds must first be offered to all eligible banks in the municipality. If they can't meet or exceed the statutory investment rates, we're allowed to invest in the municipal investment pool. And just a quick, how does it work? We would send the money to the investment pool via wire transfer. If cash is needed in the investment pool, they send it back to us via wire transfer. If we're asking for more than $1 million to be sent to us, we have to give the instructions the previous day. Where in the repo account, we can get funds the same day if we request them by 8:30. This is a list that was published on January 3rd of the rates that were available in the Kansas Municipal Investment Pool, and you can see their overnight rate was 4.02%. So for illustration purposes, if we had $5 million invested at 4% for a year, we'd earn $200,000. The same funds invested at 0.8% would earn $40,000. Interest rates will vary, and we know that. Maybe the repo account will become a more attractive investment option in the future. Therefore, we think it is the best interest of the city to have both options available to us. So in conclusion, the Kansas Municipal Investment Pool is currently offering higher interest rates than the city's repo account. Therefore, we believe it's in the best interest of the city to have the option to invest excess funds in the KMIP. As required by state statute, before moving funds to KMIP, we will offer the funds to eligible banks in the city of Leavenworth. But prior to investing in the KMIP, the Pooled Money Investment Board requires a resolution that approves the establishment of an account in the name of the city of Leavenworth. Therefore, staff recommends that the City Commission approve the establishment of an account in the city of Leavenworth's name in the investment pool and sign resolution number B2359, which will authorize us to establish that account. And do you have any questions?
Thank you for being so detailed. I love it. Thank you.
I do want to make a clarification, just in case people watching have a question. The city does not have $39 million of unencumbered cash.
Right.
So this is just showing the cash side, not the expense side. So if we issue bonds, if we get sales tax collections from the county and those go to pay debt or pay for operations or pay, that's all of the revenue that we have for those expenses. There's offsetting expenses for most of that. Our fund balance is in the single digits, millions, well below 39 million. So if you have any specific questions, Roberta can kind of tell you how that breaks out. But sewer dollars are from sewer rates, and those aren't available for city operations. So when you see that number, that's not a reflection of just unencumbered cash the city has.
Sure. The repo account, Roberta, that piece and the interest rate there, what did that look like like a year ago. Did it?
Yeah, it's
change?
been low. And like I said, in 2019, 2020, 2021, when interest rates were low, it was actually doing better than the Kansas Municipal pool. The reason I'm bringing this to you now is 2 or 3 months ago, I took a class on KMAG accounting, the Kansas accounting, and the group of finance directors were talking about the Kansas investment pool, and it came to my attention for the first time, right? So I'm relatively new as a municipal
I was
finance
like, that's
director.
a good find. It's like found money. Yeah. yeah.
So then I brought it to Karen, and she said, well, yeah, we used to invest in the pool, but then for a while, and then it became more advantageous to be in the repo account. So now I'm bringing it to your attention that I would like the opportunity to have both options available to us.
I think the interest rates look really good. I have a question about, I mean, when we go to get CDs or whatever renewed, the shorter term is always a lower rate than the longer term, but in here it looks like the longer 730-day pool is only 3.76.
Well, right, and the reason
Why is it longer?
The reason for that is because it's always it's like investing in futures, right? So if the longer terms have lower interest rates, it's because they're predicting that interest rates are going to go down.
Got it, okay.
So they don't want money tied up at a higher interest rate for a longer period of time.
And can you send us this presentation? It's really good.
Absolutely.
Very good.
It's very easy to
To me,
read.
it's sort of a no-brainer, so.
Commissioner Wilson, any questions?
Great presentation, very detailed, and thank you, Paul, for the clarification at the end. I thought the city was balling with millions in the back.
Well, and as, we do want to maintain reserves in fact, we have a reserve policy for the general fund and the sewer fund and the refuse fund and the capital project funds. And the purpose of those reserves is to be able to operate should there be a timing problem with our revenue, or if any of our revenues, we should have a severe shortfall in many of our revenues. Any money in excess of reserves is available to be spent, but yes.
Well, that's great. No, I'm in favor of it as well. So thank you for putting all those details together. And
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
yes, sir.
Did we not have a policy at one time that allowed us to invest in the Cayman?
Yes, but what happened is,
Did it
I
expire
believe
or
it's
something?
in your policy report, in October 2nd, 2019, the city's account became inactive, and because it became inactive, they closed the account. And to reopen the
Okay.
account, we need a resolution.
An updated one, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Information is powerful. That's a good find. Well, definitely in favor of that. And with that, I just need a motion.
I would move that we approve the establishment of an account in the city of Leavenworth's name in the municipal investment pool and sign resolution number B2359, which will authorize staff to establish an account.
Second.
Okay, motion's been seconded. We'll begin voting with Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
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 Motion passed 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Berta.
Good job.
Item 13, consider contract for 2024 Camp Leavenworth event.
This will be handled by Penny Holler, the Assistant City Manager.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners.
Good evening.
The item for your consideration tonight is the proposed scope of work contract with O'Neill Events and Management to facilitate the 2024 Camp Leavenworth Festival. Establishing the management company is the first step in the festival process. 2024 will be the 5th year that Camp Leavenworth has been held. It's become something the community looks forward to, and we continue to receive positive feedback. Gate estimates place 2023 attendance around 5,000, which is somewhat lower than in previous years due to the early weather closure with high winds and storm warnings. For the sake of time, I'll just include a few highlights from last year's event that displayed Leavenworth's unique offerings, like 2 downtown breweries offered craft beer to attendees, Leavenworth Arts facilitated the chalk art contest and Camp Crafty for kids. The Business Bulletin Board provided information on local businesses that could be visited after the event. Leavenworth Main Street and the Convention and Visitors Bureau hosted the information booth together and provided visitor information. Local food trucks participated, 2 local musical acts were featured, and local runner Christine Freitchen organized the Saturday morning 5K run that was well attended. And these items, along with the food, music, and activities like the Friday fireworks, completed the event. As in previous years, the commission will receive regular updates and have opportunities to provide input into the event planning process. We would anticipate that would occur in upcoming weeks and bringing in O'Neill for that discussion. As stated in the packet, the management fees have increased slightly from last year, but that amount is part of the overall 2024 event budget funded through transient guest tax revenues. And staff does recommend contract approval in the amount of $71,302, and I'm available to answer any of your questions.
Thank you.
This event is going to remain free for all residents and visitors, right?
That's correct. The plan is that it will remain free entry.
Okay, thank you. In the area of the marketing, just a thought came to me when I was going through this. You might have O'Neill look at when they contact the local news media, especially the local the television news media, to offer them the possibility with, of course, their agreement, not just their agreement, but the other side here, offer city officials to sit down for an interview on camera to talk specifically to talk about this event.
We're always looking for ways to let people know about the event.
Sure.
Sometimes that's word of mouth, sometimes that's a billboard, and working with radio and news media is a great way to do that too. So
Yeah,
that's something
Channel
we can keep in mind.
41 and Channel 9 and Channel 4, I believe, they're constantly looking for what's going on, you know?
Ed, you could be discovered.
No. I've already done the public affairs thing.
Got something there?
Right?
But, you know, you have the mayor or the mayor pro tem, you know, and they sit down in studio during a morning news show and talk about this opportunity for people to come up and have fun.
Yep, that's something we can look into.
Good idea.
Quick question, what is the financial management fee consist of? Like, what is that?
Yep, so there's a separate $3,300 fee. They do all the bookkeeping for the event.
Okay.
So everything from all the swipes from all the vendors, there's a consolidated financial system at the event that is paying the musical acts, that's the fencing vendors. They handle all the financial management. So we're not processing those 500 invoices and notices that we have payments made. They handle all of that for us.
Okay, cool, thank you.
I definitely think it's reasonable for what we get out of it.
I was a little taken back by the percentage that they take as sponsorships, so if I understand, we don't get that. It's not an event that's ran on sponsorships.
I think my understanding is initially when the event was set up for the first couple of years, the goal was that we would be able to utilize sponsorships. That happened the year we had Melissa Etheridge. We saw an increase in sponsorships and buy-ins. Since we've gone to a model that's more regional bands, we just haven't seen that level of sponsorship participation. So those numbers, it started off, in 2021 with that, was higher, and it's since not been as high as we were hoping.
That makes sense.
We try to do introductions from, like, I'll send an email with Kelly copied and they'll follow up, and it's just not been real successful in securing a lot of local sponsorships.
Okay. Cool deal. Well, I don't have any other questions. If anybody else does, or not, we just need a motion to move forward, or not?
I move approval of the management contract for the 2024 Camp Leavenworth event.
Second.
Okay, motion's been seconded. We'll begin voting with Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
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 All
right, motion passed 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item 14, consider contract for easement and right-of-way acquisition services for the Violet Street and Sidewalk Project.
Brian Faster, Director of Public Works.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. The issue this evening is to consider the proposal for easement and right-of-way acquisition services associated with our Viola Street project. For background, the city of Leavenworth initially submitted 2 transportation alternatives, or TA grants, to KDOT in March of 2022. During that review process, KDOT asked that we combine the 2 projects into one application. The city was notified that the project was selected to receive federal funds from the program in July, and that should be of 2022. The total estimated cost for construction of the project is $1.582 million, with the federal portion of $1.265 million, or 80% of the project. Federal funding is only available for construction and construction inspection, so the city is financially responsible for the design, utility relocation, and right-of-way and easement acquisition, along with 20% local match for construction. Highlights of the project include sidewalks will be installed between 10th and 15th on the south side. This will result in driveways being replaced and regrading of some of the very steep front yards. Sections of the existing sidewalks on the north side from 10th to 20th and the south side from 15th to 20th will be replaced if damaged or not meeting current ADA guidelines. Intersections between 10th and 20th will have ADA ramps meeting ADA PROAG requirements installed. Improvements between 20th and 22nd include curb and gutter along with an enclosed storm sewer and sidewalks on the north side. There will also be a marked crosswalk in front of the school with a rectangular rapid flashing beacon directly in front of the elementary school. There are a number of easements and rights-of-way required to construct the improvements and reshape a number of yards. Staff worked with our design consultant to tighten the construction limits, and we were able to reduce the number of easements needed from 54 to 34. Acquisition of these properties would begin later this month. Easement acquisition services following KDOT and federal requirements will cost between $11.95 and $13.95 per tract. If one tract has 3 different easements required, it's just the one price. In addition, there is an amount that will be owed to each property owner. They can choose to donate the easement if they would like, but this cost is in addition to what we'd be paying the property owners. With the 34 tracts, the cost for acquisition service will be approximately $41,000. These funds are available in the general fund. The 2024 budget does include a transfer from the general fund to a grant matching fund. Staff recommends the City Commission approve the proposal from Oric and Erskine LLP for easement and right-of-way acquisition services for Viola's ADA and sidewalk improvement project for a not to exceed amount of $41,000. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
So how did you think to look at dropping the easement total? You know, I mean, that's great, because that's, you know, $30,000 right there.
We tightened the construction limits. We're going to make the contractor work a little bit harder to stay within the existing rights-of-way.
Cool.
Initially, what they provided was roughly 5 feet behind the edge of sidewalk for the contractor to work. In a lot of the areas, they don't need that, and so we're able to tighten those up.
Okay, cool.
This is a rookie question, what's a tract?
That's just a property.
Oh, okay.
So if you had a particular address and we needed to get an easement from them, that would be the tract.
Okay, thank you.
Are any other vendors, for lack of a better term, considered besides Oric and Erskine, or are they particularly skilled at this type of work?
They're actually very skilled at this type of work, and they actually did our acquisition on 4th Street. And so we were very familiar with them. They're familiar with us and the process. With the federal funds, there's a process that we have to follow that's much more challenging. And if it was a city-funded project, quite honestly, we'd be going out and banging on the doors and asking people to sign easements. Can't do that with this type of project.
So we notify all these people and tell them this is going to happen?
We actually held a public meeting back in
Okay.
December. We notified all the residents along the roadway. We walked them through kind of the project and impacts of their property. It was a well-attended.
That's good.
And so what Eric will do is, they'll be sending a letter out. If this is approved this evening, they'll be sending a notification to the affected property owners of what the process is.
what the rights are, and we start that way.
Thank you.
Mr. Butter?
I don't have any other questions, sounds self-explanatory.
Okay, well, if there are no others, we just need a motion.
I move that the commission approve the proposal from Oric and Erskine LLP for easement and right-of-way acquisition services for the Vilas ADA and sidewalk improvement project for a not-to-exceed amount of $41,000.
Second.
Motion's been seconded. We'll begin voting with Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
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 All right, motion passed 5-0. Mr. Faust. Item 15, consider award of bid for City Hall HVAC hydronic and mechanical piping replacement.
Great. Thank you. The piping system here in City Hall does date back to the 1970s. It has deteriorated over time, and there have been numerous leaks in the last few years. Most of the piping on the first and second floors was replaced during the renovation in 2003, but there are 6 locations where the 1970-era piping will be replaced in the walls and in finished office spaces that will require the removal and replacement of walls and ceiling finishes. The city hired BG Consultants to create the drawings along with the bidding documents for this project. A pre-bid meeting was held on December 5th with bid opening on December 19th. The project was advertised for bid in the Leavenworth Times and at Drexel Technologies. 3 bids were received, however, 1 bidder did not submit the required paperwork and was considered non-responsive. Rand Construction was the low bidder and did meet all of our bidding requirements. Rand Construction has been working with the fire department over the last year on boiler and AC issues. I talked to Chief Birch and they were extremely pleased with the work that this firm does. Inspection of all the improvements will be made by city staff. ARPA funds will be used to cover project expenses. The low bid was $176,320 with a project budget of $318,000, as shown in the 2024 CIP. As the project will be tearing into walls from the basement through the second floor of a 100-year-old structure, it is very likely that unplanned issues will be encountered. There's things we don't know that are behind the walls. It is probable that these unplanned conditions will result in project change orders. City staff does recommend the City Commission approve the low bid by Rand Construction for the City Hall HVAC hydronic and mechanical condensate piping project in the amount of $176,320, and authorize the city manager to approve change orders if needed for an additional $44,000 or 25% of the project. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
And the reason that's in there is the city's purchasing policy caps the city manager's authority at 10% or $25,000. And so in this case, Brian and I felt that with the nature of the project, with the bids where they were, that it may make more sense to increase that just on this item, certainly up to the discretion of the commission, and we will alert you of any funds beyond the $176,320 within that contingency, should you approve that part of the motion tonight.
Okay. So, thank you for that, Mr. Kramer. Mr. Faust, on these bid submittals, is that, just out of curiosity, for something like this, would that be outlined by any of the submitters that there could be a contingency for the change order request or anything like that?
No,
because it's
I
a
mean,
huge difference between both bids. That's why I was just
right.
kind of
No, we
curious.
were pretty specific on what to bid, and so we did not go into kind of any sort of unplanned or any contingencies within the bidding documents.
Okay.
So normally, if we don't approve this, what we would have to do is either stop work, or it'd be something that we'd have to bring to you at an emergency, should they find something. We'll, of course, try to keep it to the bid amount, but this just helps
This
keep the
keeps it
project
going.
along when you're opening walls and ceilings and replacing pipes.
And
So
still
that's-
within budgetary
Yeah, we don't
guidelines,
normally
so-
do something like this, but
Right.
we thought it was prudent on this item.
Cool. Okay. Any comments or?
Yeah, you're expecting some people having to move out of their office to go somewhere else.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, there's 6 areas. HR will be impacted is one of them. But we've talked to the contractor about possibly working in the evenings, and different options to limit the impact to our employees, so.
Okay. And about, let's say we approve this, about when do we see start of work and end of work? Month to month?
I don't remember the number of days we gave them, but I think the last time we talked to them, it looked like April. We don't want to do it when it's 20 below outside, and we don't want to do it when it's 100 degrees outside. So
Yeah.
springtime was the time to do it.
So beginning April and end in
I was
June?
thinking it was just a couple months. It was a fairly short time frame.
Thank you.
All right, well, if there's no other questions, we just need a motion.
I move to approve the low bid submitted by Rand Construction for the City Hall HVAC, hydronic, and mechanical condensate piping project in the amount of $176,320 and authorize the city manager to approve change orders if needed for an additional $44,000, which is 25%.
Second.
All right, motion's been seconded. We'll begin voting with Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
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 All right, motion passed 5-0. All right, next item, consider bids for Water Pollution Control Division 2024 chemical purchase.
Yeah, this is something we do every year in January, and is to consider purchase of chemicals that we use at our wastewater treatment plant. The plant uses a number of chemicals for a variety of purposes in the treatment of wastewater. They include hydrogen peroxide, sodium hypochlorite and sodium hydroxide, ferrous chloride, and polymer. The 2024 budget includes $75,500 for the purchase of chemicals in 2024. The actual bid came in for the chemicals at $91,918, a difference of $16,418. There are sufficient funds in the budget to cover this anticipated difference. Staff recommends the City Commission approve the low bids that meet the specifications for the chemicals ferrous chloride, hydrogen peroxide, sodium hypochlorite, sodium hydroxide, and our polymer. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Quick question, I'm sorry, unless anybody else has anything. Actually, two questions. Do we know why there's a 31% increase in the hydrogen peroxide, and why did the sodium hydroxide go down like in half? Just out of curiosity.
Don't know.
Okay.
Honestly. And these are some of the same bidders that we have every year.
Sure.
They've been pretty consistent across the board.
Any questions, anybody? That's all I had too. Okay, with that, just need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the low bids that meet the specification for the following chemicals for $91,918.
Second.
All right, motion's been seconded. We'll begin voting with Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
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 All right, motion approved 5-0. Item 17, consider contract for the redesign of the 4th Street Improvement Project.
Okay. As mentioned, this item is to consider the redesign of 4th Street improvements and authorize city staff to work with BHC. For a brief summary of how we got here, in March of 2019, the city submitted 2 grant applications. It's actually called the City Connecting Link Improvement Program with KDOT for projects on 4th Street. The first project was from Choctaw to Delaware, and the second project was from Delaware to Seneca. KDOT notified the city in July of 2020 that we had been awarded the Choctaw to Delaware portion of the project. While the section from Delaware to Seneca was not selected, the city felt it was important to include a larger project to improve our downtown. The city entered into an agreement with BHC and KDOT in September of 2021 for the design of the improvements to 4th Street. With KDOT's participation in the project, there were a number of additional steps and paperwork required before the project was bid. Many of these items are above and beyond what is required if the project is funded using only city funds. KDOT opened the bids for the project on December 13th of 2023. Bids received were higher than the budget and the engineer's estimate. In addition to the bid cost, project inspection, anticipated change orders, and future landscaping, it would push the project cost to roughly $2 million per block. Based on direction received during the December 19th commission work session, the city notified KDOT that we would not be moving forward with the project as designed. City staff worked with our design consultant, BHC, to arrive at a modified design scope for a project that will still provide the needed upgrades to the street while limiting the needed subsurface replacement of the sanitary and storm lines. The design will focus on reducing all construction-related costs to the existing budget of $4.2 million or less. City staff did meet with KDOT on January 5th to discuss the revised project and to see if KDOT had any issues to our approach. KDOT was very supportive and expressed a willingness to expedite reviews so the project could move forward quickly. The revised design will leave the street in its current width, but will provide for a mill and overlay of the pavement between Choctaw and Seneca, along with the reconstruction of the Cherokee, Delaware, and Shawnee intersections. The 4 blocks will have ADA upgrades, and the pavement will be striped for a 3-lane as per the original design. Streetscape improvements will be incorporated into the project. It is anticipated the project will be ready for bidding in late spring, with construction starting during the summer. The design cost for a road project typically ranges between 10 and 15% of the estimated construction value. For smaller projects, that percentage is higher. For larger projects, the percentage is lower. For our project of $4.2 million, the design cost of 10% or $420,000 is a typical number that we would see. For 4th Street, with the survey work completed and with a portion of the previous design being reusable, BHC is looking to complete the design, including new drawings and bidding documents, for $202,488, basically 4.8% of the estimated construction-related costs. City staff recommends the City Commission authorize the mayor to sign a contract with BHC for the redesign of 4th Street between Choctaw and Seneca in an amount not to exceed $202,844. And be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you.
When do you see estimated completion? I mean, it's not as extensive
It'd be this year. The challenge would be if we, the traffic signals, because there can be a 6 to 8 month lead time on getting new signals. And so that's one of the things that we could actually order up front and just store them in our yard. But that's going to be that long lead item in getting those. But reconstruction of the intersection of mill and overlay will actually, assuming we have decent weather, would all be done this year.
Okay, so you don't anticipate this work interfering, except maybe make it a little inconvenient to drive around that construction. Other than that, it won't interfere with any of the events that will be taking place during that, like Camp Leavenworth and later on the Christmas events.
It'll probably, in September for Camp Leavenworth, it'll still be under construction, but it'll be just, I would think, minor detours at that time.
Okay.
The Veterans Day Parade, I mean, we hope to have everything done by that. Again, that long lead item is the traffic signals, the poles.
Have you got the order forms with you?
I'm sorry?
Have you got the order forms with you?
I mean, but the nice thing was that design was completed for those signals on the previous project.
KDOT requires mast arms over a state highway with a dedicated turn lane. And so right now we have the standard poles, but if you have a dedicated middle turn lane, then you have to have mast arm ones, and to order those, that's the extension of lead times.
Okay.
And unfortunately, limited manufacturers of those, and it's just a very long lead time.
Let's get it done.
Okay, I have no other questions either at this point, so with that, if there are none, I guess Commissioner Wilson, any other comments on that?
No, sir, no comments.
Okay, then we just need a motion.
I move, we authorize the mayor to sign the contract with BHC for the redesign of 4th Street improvement between Choctaw and Seneca in an amount not to exceed $202,844.
Second.
All right, motion's been seconded. We'll begin voting with Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
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 Motion passed 5-0. Thank you very much. Okay, with that, we're going to move to first consideration ordinance, item 18. First consideration ordinance for special use permit to allow a daycare at 1913 Choctaw Street.
Once again, Julie Hurley, the Director of Planning and Community Development.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. As he said, this is a request for a special use permit to allow operation of a child care center at 1913 Choctaw Street. This was first considered at the November 6th Planning Commission meeting. During that meeting, the Planning Commission board members asked for some additional information from staff based on some concerns that we heard from neighbors who were in attendance. The additional information they requested related to a speed study that was currently being undertaken by the police department, as well as information on home values surrounding other in-home daycares in the city. So this was considered then for the second time at the December 4th Planning Commission meeting, where staff presented the additional information that was requested. So the first item that was requested was in regards to the speed study. Neighbors had reached out to the police department prior to the special use permit going to the Planning Commission meeting for the first time regarding some concerns about potential speeding in the neighborhood that they felt might be related to the daycare use that had moved in. So the police department had installed a stealth radar device at the intersection of 19th and Choctaw to record vehicle count and speed for a 2-week period. That was from November 1st through November 15th. So that was obviously ongoing when we were at that Planning Commission meeting for the first time. I've included the summary of that speed survey in your packet and some numbers just in the policy report, but overall, the biggest takeaway was that close to 97% of the vehicles recorded were going under the speed limit. During the December 4th Planning Commission meeting, when this was considered for the second time, there were some concerns raised by planning commissioners and a neighbor just regarding the validity of the survey results due to some discrepancies with how the data was recorded in the printout that we got. So based on those concerns, Leavenworth PD conducted a second speed survey from December 6th through the 22nd. The results of those are again included in your packet. Again, it was over 98% of the cars were not speeding that they recorded. So given that the available data that we have doesn't suggest any speeding or traffic volume issues, there would be no other measures that would be indicated for the neighborhood based on that. And then the other item that had been brought up was home values of properties located near existing home daycares. We currently have 15 active special use permits for in-home daycares in the city of Leavenworth. So staff took a look at the 2022 to 2023 property value increase for the immediately surrounding 8 to 10 properties for a random sample of 9 of those existing daycares. Of those that we took a look at, the average increase was 15.36%, which was just a little bit over the countywide increase of 14.85% for that same time period. That is based on the Leavenworth County Appraiser's Office. So again, with that concern, there's no indication that there's any overall decrease in property values for homes that are near an existing home daycare. So there are a number of conditions of determination that are in your packet. I won't read through each of those. At the first Planning Commission meeting on November 6th, we had a number of people who spoke both in favor of and opposition to the special use permit request. During that meeting, there was a packet of information given to planning commissioners by a resident who is in opposition. That is included in your packet that you have tonight. After the meeting, we received 4 letters in support of the special use permit. And then during the December 4th Planning Commission meeting, we had a few more individuals speak both in favor and opposition to the request. And then during that meeting, there was a packet of information given to planning commissioners by an individual who was in favor of the request. And so again, all of that information is included in your packet. The Planning Commission took action on this at the December 4th meeting and voted 5-1 to recommend approval of the special use permit. So staff would recommend approval of the special use permit based on the analysis and findings included in your packet, subject to the conditions that are listed in the policy report, which would include a minimum of 1,200 square feet of open space, 100% enclosed by a minimum 4-foot high fence or wall, be provided and maintained in good condition, that a copy of the permanent group daycare home license be provided annually upon renewal by the state of Kansas, that the operation shall be limited to a maximum of 12 children, and that no additional home occupations may be carried out at the residence. So if you have any questions for me, I can answer those. Chief Kitchens is here also, who can talk about the 2 speed surveys if there's any questions about that. And the owner of the daycare is in attendance as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Hurley.
Sir, it says a copy of the permanent group daycare home license shall be provided annually. To who?
To the city. And that's our standard requirement. Any home daycare has to provide their annual license to us, and that the clerk's office takes care of getting that.
Thank you. That's it for me.
What happened with the first speed study? What was, Chief?
So the assertions made by the one gentleman, there were essentially 2 things, one of which is that the time was off. And so during the 2 weeks that it was up the first time, we did the fallback time change, and so the time was off by an hour, and so that was one of the issues. And then the other issue was asserted that people went through the neighborhood to tell everyone that we were doing a speed study, and that somehow would have altered, that people would have changed their driving behavior and then not been speeding. So that was part of the reason that I put it back up the second time. I didn't tell anybody that time, we just put it back up. And I think, as you can see, the data was virtually identical. And so those were the 2 principal issues that was asserted by the person.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Other questions?
I've never seen this much pushback against a daycare center since I've been here.
We had one last year out in the Shenandoah subdivision that had about, I think, similar response from a few neighbors out there.
Oh,
That was-
branches.
I don't remember.
Branches, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Oh, the
Yeah.
branches.
Yeah, that they came to meetings and met with me individually and had a few people.
I don't have any other questions right now. Anybody else at the moment? Comments? Okay, well, with that, we just need a consensus here to move forward.
Oh, yeah, this is just a consensus. Yeah,
Okay.
I would say move forward.
Yep, definitely.
Yep,
Yes.
okay.
We'll see it.
Yes.
We'll see it another couple times before it becomes.
Yeah, it'll be back in 2 weeks.
Yep, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Very
Okay,
much.
thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Okay, consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the claims for December 9th, 2023 through January 4th, 2024 in the amount of $3,482,688.80. Net amount for payroll number 25, effective December 15th, 2023, in the amount of $423,929.11, includes police and fire pension in the amount of $7,134.65, and payroll number 26, effective December 29th, 2023, in the amount of $413,118.76, no police and fire pension.
Second.
Motion's been seconded. We'll begin voting with Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
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 All right, motion passed 5-0. Before we move to close the special meeting, kind of go around the horn here with, starting with Mr. Kramer.
Yeah, thank you. Just like to thank the commission and the public for being flexible with us on these meetings, having the special meeting tonight at the same night as the study session. That's, I don't think we've had that since I've been here, but we also, I don't know that we've had quite a stretch of weather over so long period. I'd also like to thank and just have the public bear with us on the refuse. I know that we had crews out Saturday when it was probably too cold for them to be out, because they really do, we are striving to meet the service levels that our public expects. But continue to bear with us, try to make it easier, as easy as you can. If your trash cart's buried in some snow, help us out, but we'll be back out tomorrow. I know we had to cancel today, which again, we haven't had to do before. Hopefully next week, I think the temperatures are back up, we can get back on track. But we are fully staffed as far as collectors and labor positions. It's just a matter of being able to get through that and then get down to dispose of those. So again, just kind of bear with us, and I appreciate that. And the vast majority of feedback we've gotten from the public has been positive. I think they understand. And so just know that we are trying to get back to normal service levels as soon as possible while keeping everybody safe. So I appreciate the patience and the grace that everybody has shown.
Cool. Well, thank you for that. Commissioner Wilson.
Yeah, I want to also give a special shout out to the refuse waste collectors for their hard work, commitment as they provide services to all the citizens during this brutal cold. I thank them for everything. And then yesterday was Dr. Martin Luther King Day. We had an opportunity to celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. King. He was a leader that fought for unity, justice, and equality for all mankind. And I would just like to end that with the quote. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. As leaders, let us lead with love because love conquers all. And love is what truly creates change. God bless you. Hope you all have a great week and be safe.
Thanks, Commissioner Wilson. Commissioner Hinckley.
Yes. Winter's definitely here. It was freezing out the other day on Friday when my garbage was picked up. And I was telling the city manager earlier, the snow makes a great camouflage if what you put out there is a white plastic bag with your refuse. They almost missed it completely. And I went out there, hey, and they took it right away. And I have to tell you, I said something to them about, keep warm. They were in really good humor. They were like, yeah, we're trying to do that. And they were really in very good humor. These guys are working hard, and yet they're willing to go out there and do that and not complain a whole lot, it seems. So thank you, everybody, for everybody that toughed out the weather out here to get out here to the city commission meeting. I appreciate that. Have a great week.
Thank you.
I'd also like to echo the thoughts of the city workers, not only the refuge, but the streets were fantastic. The main streets, the side streets, I got lots of compliments. And so thank you to the crews for doing that. I know there's a lot of late hours and long hours. Commissioner Wilson mentioned yesterday was Martin Luther King Day's birthday, and we were scheduled to have an event last night, but because of cold, it has been rescheduled to this Saturday. It's going to be at United Methodist Church from 2 to 3, and they will have a speaker who's going to be reenacting one of Martin Luther King's speeches. So if it's hopefully not too cold, people can come out for that. And then I also want to thank the shelter for again, all their work, making sure that people have a safe and warm place to go during this cold. So everyone stay safe this weekend and stay warm. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Bowder.
Yeah, I was going to mention the King event on Saturday, and that's too bad they had to reschedule it, but I hope they have a good turnout. I know that Miranda mentioned the transportation, LV Ride. I'd like to give credit to the Guidance Center. They're out there every day. They've been just amazing out there in this snow and in the cold. And another thing that we need to get out there to the public is that when there are two ways to pay for that ride, it's $2 a ride, but you need to have exact change because we don't allow our drivers to make change. There's a box, you put the money in and that's it. So you need to have exact change if you're paying cash. Of course, it's easier to pay online, but not everybody has that opportunity to. But there's a real easy app and it's great to pay online. I've ridden it myself. And $2, yes. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. I want to echo the rest of the team as far as the crews out in this weather. I think we definitely take it for granted sometimes, the fact that those streets don't clean themselves. So definitely appreciate it, Brian, for everything you guys have been doing and all the contractors, everything that's been going on. It's definitely appreciated, and we don't really know what we're ever going to get here in Leavenworth. So definitely appreciate that. One other item too, I wanted to just kind of bring up. we kind of talked, I think it was last summer or maybe early spring, I can't remember what it was, talking about our meeting structures and frequency and study sessions and everything. We're at just under 2 hours tonight, combining a study session in with, regular meeting, kind of special meeting too. So want to maybe get some thoughts and feedback, Mr. Kramer. I know we talked a few months ago about, hey, let's maybe pilot something if we could consolidate more into our city meetings and keep those at twice a month, and the potential elimination of study sessions if we can combine both. I'm just kind of curious, any feedback you got or thoughts since we've looked at it now for the last several months? And
Right, so from the staff side, study sessions aren't in ordinance, so it's purely a commission decision. On the staff side, it would not affect our ability to bring items to you, because study sessions are usually presentations. We've done a little bit of that with the elimination of the first study session in the form of staff reports. I think the only thing to point out is that you would have more consistently 90-minute to 2-hour meetings. I did look at our last 10 meetings and average about an hour 7. And so we are completely neutral at the staff level, whether we were completely neutral whether we eliminated the first one. It certainly wouldn't affect us in a negative way, but we don't advocate either way. But it wouldn't have an impact on staff.
okay, thank you. So the reason I'm bringing this up is I'm all about, I know we kind of talked about this a little bit before and wanted to kind of get everybody's thoughts. I'm definitely in favor of consolidating and if we can, having fewer meetings, but have impactful content. And if there's a path there, if there's interest, I'd like to, maybe go ahead and take a minute to revisit this from everybody here and get some thoughts around that, possibly consolidating. So
My thoughts are that, at one time, we had a city commission meeting every week, every single week. And then it went to the commission meetings every other week, twice a month and then the other week. And then there was take off the last Tuesday off the month. And then you proposed, getting rid of one of the study sessions and combining in two. I'm down with that, but we're having less and less meetings. Look how many topics we covered over the last two months. We approved budget, we approved payroll for 2 months, for December. And I think as representatives of our citizens, we need to be here to talk to the citizens. We need to be transparent and be here. And they need to see us, and I think the current number of meetings is reasonable. We've also had holidays where we canceled the meetings as well. I disagree. I think the way the setup is now is working.
Okay. I appreciate that. I appreciate the feedback. Anybody else?
As someone who's newly elected, this is what I signed up for, so this is kind of what I was expecting. I think anytime that you hold a meeting, it's a chance for the public to come in and address us. So the more opportunities that they have, the better. If you just take the person who spoke tonight, he's been trying to come for 6 weeks now. He finally got to come tonight, but if we don't have less meetings, it's less ways for us to communicate with their constituents. So I think it's fine the way it is. But again, I'm new as well, so I'm still learning. So the more meetings I can have, the more face time I can have in front of this, the better for me, because it's a learning curve for me. So I would be in favor of keeping it how it is.
Okay, no, I appreciate that.
I can go either way. I have to admit, I kind of like the idea of doing it on a very regular basis, almost every week. It just seems like what we look at this week, we're going to look at it again in 2 weeks. And I'm going to remember what it was without all the other stuff going on. If we start, in a study session, we're not going to have anything like that we're going to see it later again. But I'm really flexible. You guys know I'm retired, so I've got the time. Hey, you're not supposed to laugh.
That's a good thing you're retired.
No, I appreciate that, Ed. Commissioner Wilson, any thoughts or anything around that?
Yeah, just echoing what Ali said, when I first decided to run for office, the commitment was, a meeting every week, every 4 weeks. Each week, 4 times a month. And so that's something that I'm used to doing, I'm committed to doing. And then also look at it, the more we have meetings, the more opportunities we get to engage with the public and give them opportunities to meet with their elected officials and bring up opportunities. Bring up things that they may want to discuss, or if for individuals who may be new to the area, give them an opportunity to learn what takes place in our local government. So at this moment, I'm opposed to lessening the meetings, and I'm more so in favor with keeping the meeting structure the way that it is now.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. And just so everybody is aware, kind of where I was coming from was, we have public comment a couple times a month, that wouldn't change. And just a guy from a business standpoint, keeping things straight to the point and making sure that we have impactful meetings, and a lot of times there's ways to consolidate. But I appreciate everybody speaking up and giving me your thoughts, and definitely would, go ahead.
What was I gonna say now? Oh, gosh, I don't remember.
Well, the study sessions
Oh.
too, we do other than just hear reports.
Yeah.
As we have our goals and look forward
Sure.
to doing things that are new and different, we task that to our city manager to set those up on study sessions, so we can learn more and discuss more. So having that regular time that we know we can put that in there, I feel like we need to keep.
No, I appreciate that.
Keep the
Yeah.
study sessions separate from doing our business at the meeting,
Okay,
or the regular meeting.
well, thank you for that. All right.
Nope.
Did you remember what you were going to say, Commissioner Hinkle?
No.
Hey, if you forgot, that's a retired mind.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, well, with that then, I would like to just entertain a motion to close our special meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor of that?
Aye.
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 And then I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Yeah. Aye.
All right. Aye.
We're-